you said to me earlier, a leaked new Russian strategy, perhaps by accident, but all of Donbass and the entirety of the south.
Yes, what we've had is from a two-star Major General giving a briefing in which he talked about eventually Transdniester. Now, this is not a household word or name to most people. It's in the eastern part of Moldova, where there are 1,500 Russian troops already, but talking about how coming down from Donbass, across through Mariupol, round through Odessa, Crimea.
Well, when you said that to me, what it reminded me of is something we discussed when you were last on, and that's Zelensky's own speech. If we, God forbid, fall in Ukraine, Moldova next, then Georgia, then the Baltics, etc., etc.
That's exactly where we're going.
Yeah.
I was last with you about a month ago. I would put to you that the situation in Ukraine is now even more gruesome, even more awful. We can worry about the humanitarian situation in Mariupol, but Putin is now determined to do what he set out to do, and he appears to be even more isolated, but even more determined. I was very struck. You're seeing, I think, the launch of a new missile.
We talked about that on the programme the other day. That's the Satan II multiple warhead,
10 warheads.
Intercontinental ballistic missile.
At least the good thing is, Putin did warn the Americans he was going to do it, unlike the North Koreans. So there was no threat there. But there were other images a couple of days ago of Putin with his defense secretary Shoigu, who was rumoured to have a serious heart attack, who looked diminished as a defense secretary, as a defense minister. The options opening up now for Putin are really very difficult. But what is emerging now is this approach to the NATO red line, I'd put to you, Alistair.
Yes.
That, sending probably 14 Challenger 2 tanks, which were surplus under the integrated review, which were going to be scrapped anyway, to Poland so that they can send their Soviet, Russian-built T-72 tanks into Ukraine, along with helicopters as well, is a useful let's call it an eliding of the situation. But I think it's pushing Putin close to intolerance of where things are going.
It's interesting, isn't it? Again, going back that month, when another thing that we talked about then was, and I think it was Washington, you said, had vetoed, when the Polish wanted to give their MiG-29, I think they are.
That's correct.
Fighter, bombers, jets to the Ukrainian Air Force, and Washington said, no, that crosses a line. That drags potentially NATO into it.
I think it's moving much closer. But I was very...
Who's losing a grip, Nick?
Sorry?
Who is losing grip here? Washington, London, NATO, Stoltenberg?
I don't think anyone's losing grip, but I think it's getting tighter. I think it's getting more tense. NATO now has to establish itself as determined to defend its land and its territory. It's every centimetre. And what is now being talked about in NATO is a deployment of up to 40,000 troops right around the rim of Ukraine, because it's very clear, and listening to Fiona Hill, the former National Security Advisor, on the radio this morning, she's an expert in Russia and the Soviet Union, making it very clear that there is only one thing that Putin understands, and it is strength.
Yes.